Hey, I'm Cyclone. It was just mere minutes away, or actually 1 minute or in 50 seconds now, away from the big reveal. Just a quick mentioning. This is gonna be a live reaction, but it's not gonna be a live stream. I will be cutting out the PoE 2 part. This will be focusing on the Necropolis League. I'm very excited about it. I'm expecting and hoping for some very big changes, but I will be gladly taking anything that is already on a decent pace. But yeah, with that being said, there's gonna be 1 more minute. I'm likely gonna be trimming that away, and then we're gonna be having the big reveal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's
Hi,
go.
I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to our live stream. We have a busy lineup today with announcements for Path of Exile 2, as well as the exclusive reveal of Path of Exile Necropolis, which launches on March 29th. For the first time ever, we'll be releasing this expansion simultaneously on all platforms, PC, Mac, and console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your suffering back attachment. Today's stream will start with Path of Exile 2, where Jonathan will show you our latest announcements. Mark will then take you on a deep dive into the new Path of Exile Necropolis Challenge League, which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its deep crafting system, large endgame changes, some improvements to the core Path of Exile campaign, and finally some quality of life features. We'll then show you our new supporter packs, and we'll head into a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask us your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Woo! Patch notes!
Hey guys, it's time to chat about PoE 2 again.
Alright, gonna be cutting out the
Only been
PoE
a
2
few
part.
months since we talked about the Mercenary, and yet even to announce. I'm going to hand over to Mark, the game director on PoE 1, to show us what's in store.
Alright.
We had a lot of fun making this one, so let's just get straight into it with the trailer for Path of Exile Necropolis.
Let's go.
Cold flesh, dirt, maggots, and ghosts. Our job is to keep them where they belong. It's your first night, so you'll need this. A ghostly lantern for ghastly tinkering. You'll learn to peer into the souls of the dead. You'll learn how to twist them. Meet me in the Necropolis. You can pilfer shiny things from a corpse, but you can pilfer glorious things from a soul. I need a gravedigger.
What?
The job's
Oh, this looks amazing.
good. What do you say?
In the Necropolis League, you will encounter Undertaker Aramor, a man collecting the scattered spirits of the Eternal Empire for a mysterious purpose. These spirits have begun to haunt the monsters of Rayclast, unleashing their ancient fury and sorrow onto the world. The Undertaker will provide you with the Lantern of Aramor, a powerful family heirloom which can illuminate the wrathful spirits haunting monsters throughout Rayclast. With it, the Undertaker hopes to employ you to rid Rayclast of this menace, and further his cryptic cause. The lantern can be used when entering any new area. When peering through it, you can examine the spirits haunting that area. The lantern also allows you to manipulate them, letting you configure which monsters are affected by which mods. It would be wise to take your time with your decisions here, for the spirits are not forgiving. When peering through the lantern, you can also see extra details about the packs of monsters in the area. Rowers here are considered common, whereas the water elementals are more scarce. If you want things to be easier, you can put the more difficult spirits on the elementals, which you'll encounter less often. We've tried to make sure that by engaging with the lantern, you are able to intelligently control the difficulty in the Necropolis League. The spirits come in a number of forms which represent the danger they pose. For example here, the infested vultures are servant haunted, causing them to deal a small amount of increased damage. But the Vol's Vanguard are noble haunted, causing them to deal a large amount of increased damage. As you reach higher level areas in Rayclast, the tier and number of spirits that are haunting monsters will generally increase. Your game knowledge can help you here. If you're aware of the composition of a monster pack, this means certain mods will be easier to manage. For example, the mod that increases a pack's damage for every monster killed has no effect on packs with a single monster, like a Devourer. However, if we found a spirit that makes the strongest monster in a pack deal 100% more damage, well, I'm going to avoid the Devourer. You might have noticed that the Lantern of Aramor provides other useful information, such as the types of abilities monsters use, or the damage types they deal. So for those who are less familiar with how these monsters work, this can be a great way to learn what you're up against.
That's a nice feature.
The spirits are constantly moving throughout Rayclast, so if you are finding a campaign area too difficult, you can just wait a few minutes and peer through the lantern again to see what's changed. Of course, powerful spirits beget powerful rewards. There are two reasons why you might want to face a challenge now and then. Firstly, not all the spirits are malicious. Sometimes the monsters aren't haunted at all, but are instead devoted. These can grant basic rewards like increased experience, or bigger rewards like spawning the Nameless Seer, an NPC that will grant you a single unique item after you defeat all of the packs affected by that spirit.
The one that you barely saw last
The more
week.
haunted monsters you defeat in the previous area before using the lantern, the more likely the devoted monsters will appear in the next area. Monsters haunted by higher tier spirits will increase the chance of the devoted appearing even more, meaning that sometimes it's worth putting the hardest modifier possible on very common monsters, if you're brave enough.
I'm surprised. This looks like another weapon league.
To allow players to customize the danger and rewards as much as they can. Aramor is an Undertaker, and you can probably guess what we're taking to him. The second main reward from the Necropolis League is monsters with unresolved anguish. Once slain, their corpses need extra care from the Undertaker, and he will offer to take them back to his necropolis and store them in the morgue. Time to earn your keep. When you are ready, you can visit the morgue to view the monsters you have collected, and then get to work burying them in one of many graves in Aramor's cemetery. For example, we will bury this Katava's Herald. Aramor's mysterious soul experiments can coalesce powerful items. Here I've chosen to create a pair of boots.
Crafting league?
These boots are useful for my character, but aren't exactly what I hoped for. And this is where the Necropolis crafting system really shines. You'll have noticed that the corpse we collected earlier had a crafting effect on it. In fact, all collected corpses do. If you bury multiple corpses in the cemetery, all adjacent corpses can be exercised at once to create one item. All of the crafting effects on those corpses will apply to that same item. This allows you to have either one or many different crafting projects ongoing in the cemetery. For example, next time I try to create boots, I could bury corpses that increase the chance of getting move speed modifiers. To go further, I could use these to generate higher tier modifiers. Then, I could try to bias it towards being an evasion pair with this. Finally, I'll apply some crafting effects that improve the probability of getting good rolls. Now, let's craft our item and see what we get. As you can see now, we have a much better pair of boots. forged from the souls of our enemies. You could even use the entire cemetery to craft one
Crafting
item.
League.
There is always something you can do to try and ensure your item will be as best as it can be. We hope to see some really crazy grave crafts. If you are lucky, you might find corpses with meta crafting modifiers. These can be buried to manipulate your crafting projects in more drastic ways. This one increases the potency of all crafting effects of adjacent undead corpses. Another meta crafting modifier gives a chance to drop an extra item from your craft, with all the same crafting outcomes applied. All you have to do is bury a lot of undead monsters.
May the ferocity of Throldana free you of your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may shield them from harm.
You can also craft new unique items exclusive to the Necropolis League using this system. As you explore Rayclast, you might find the corpses of famous Eternal Empire families. And when you bury an entire family together and exorcise them, they will thank you with a unique specific to their lineage.
Oh, interesting way to get items.
For example, the Nivalius Inheritance Belt. I'll give you a moment to check that out. You can use other corpses alongside them to grant implicit mods, manipulate the values of explicit mods, and more. In this case, with the Parandus Pact, you can even change the modifiers it generates. This unique is a jewel which adds extra stats to passive skills in a radius when socketed into the passive skill tree. The stats it adds are randomly generated, but you can bias it towards a specific type by using other crafting effects, such as this one, which increases the chance of getting life modifiers.
Ooh, that's
Let's
cool.
see what we get. Damn, we didn't get it this time. I guess we're gonna have to go and collect more corpses. Of course, you can trade the corpses away to other players. All you need to do is purchase empty coffins from the Undertaker and use them on your corpses in the morgue, which will itemize them.
This feels like an overall to the beast system.
Another item in the Necropolis League that you can find are Embers of the All Flame. These are monster spirits that remain living in the All Flame, a powerful ancient artifact of Rayclast. And you can set them free by placing them in the Lantern of Aramor and defeating them. These embers drop throughout Rayclast as itemized packs of monsters. You are able to use these packs to replace the packs in areas. For example, we have found this All-Flame Ember of Tarfor. We can now go to enter the next area and replace one of the monster packs in here. You can see we have also gotten one of the devoted modifiers to appear. We can pair up the Karui ancestors with this modifier, making them even more rewarding. Let's go ahead and replace the Tentacle Miscreations. However, when replacing packs, you want to double check their density, as the new pack will inherit the density of the replaced pack. The Karui ancestors we have now added to our area can even drop basic variations of tattoos. If you aren't aware, this is an item type from the Trial of the Ancestors League, which can be used on passive skills to change what they do. There are many different types of itemized packs. You can find Breach and Legion monsters that drop splinters, Untainted packs that provide insane amounts of experience, and even simple frogs, which can be used to replace difficult monsters to make life easier. And of course, these Ember monsters can be raised as specters too. Finally, let's discuss how this league works in in-game maps. Each in-game map will allow you to manipulate it using the lantern on the map device UI. However, instead of randomly cycling every few minutes, it is fixed to that map. Once you view the map through the lantern, you cannot remove it from the map device, so you can't trade that map away now that you've seen it as too difficult for you, or has monsters in it that you'd rather avoid, like porcupines. We're also trying something new this time around. During the Necropolis League, there will be support for the League on the Atlas passive tree. Multiple clusters will be there, allowing you to enhance the gameplay,
Uber keystones.
customize it, and even change its behavior in meaningful ways. One way that you can change the crafting in a meaningful way is with the Prospero's Wager Keystone. With this keystone, all the monsters with unresolved anguish come with this crafting modifier, which causes them to generate a random craft when buried. This means instead of pre-planning your crafts, you have to adapt to them on the fly to get the best results. These clusters will not be available in Standard League.
Okay,
In 3.24, we've made a plethora of changes to the endgame. We're introducing new bosses, adding another tier of maps, and streamlining the Atlas. The most difficult and most rewarding content in Path of Exile can be found in Uber Pinnacle bosses, such as the Maven and the Searing Exarch. Currently, the only way to access these bosses is by allocating specific keystones on the Atlas passive tree. While this system offers a nice element of control, it causes a problem. Rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights. This means it is wasteful to run the non-Uber variants instead of simply selling them. Another problem that we noticed is the difficulty jump between the Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content was relatively large, and there wasn't obvious content that could bridge this gap. Many players would give up on their characters before being able to defeat the Uber Pinnacle bosses. In 3.24, we will be making some changes to this. We are removing the keystones that give access to the Uber Pinnacle bosses from the Atlas tree, and instead we'll be adding a new set of fragments that give you access to this content.
This is so huge.
Where do you get these fragments? We are adding a new tier of maps, Tier 17 maps, which not only give you access to the Uber Pinnacle content, but also test your characters in new ways. They feature a new set of bosses, Uber monsters, and a new tier of modifiers that can roll on the maps. There are 5 new Tier 17 maps in total, with some surprising boss fights at the end. We'll look at a couple today, and the rest you'll have to discover for yourself. First, we have the Citadel map. This map contains an ancient Kalguran citadel. You will encounter many expedition monsters as the signature packs throughout the map. At the end, you will fight Uber Uhtred. This is a version of a boss from Expedition League, with all its abilities and mechanics enhanced. Uber Uhtred
Boy, I
will
fought
even
this
be
boss
able to summon
once.
2 other expedition bosses to aid it during the fight.
I'm screwed.
Secondly, we have the Fortress map. This map is an impregnable fortress, guarded by monsters from the Heist League. At the end, you will encounter an Uber version of the Unbreakable. Again, it has enhanced abilities and mechanics you'll have to learn and overcome. Each of the Tier 17 map bosses has a chance to drop a unique item, allowing for some target farming. However, these aren't entirely new unique items. Instead, we've taken other unique items, removing them from the core drop pool, and rebalancing them to fit here. One example is this reworked version of Wraith Lord. It has 4 Abyss sockets, and allows you to summon an additional Spectre for each Ghastly Eye jewel socketed into it.
That is
Another
either
example is Mana
too niche
Storm.
or too broken.
This has been rebalanced to grant a lot more damage than before, alongside some more impactful mana stats, if you can get lucky rolls. Alongside adding Tier 17 maps, we have also changed the Uber Pinnacle bosses to have completely distinct unique item drop pools from their non-Uber counterparts. This means there is a reason to farm both versions. Let's take a look at the Shaper versus the Uber Shaper.
This is such an amazing
The
bossing
Shaper will
change.
drop these uniques: Voidwalker, Shaper's Touch, Solstice Vigil, and Dying Sun. Whereas the Uber Shaper will drop these: Echoes of Creation, Sublime Vision, Entropic Devastation, Starforge, and a new unique belt called the Tides of Time. Another example of a new unique is this helmet from the Uber Eater of Worlds, Ravenous Passion, and these gloves from the Uber Searing Exarch, the Celestial Brace. Each of the Uber Pinnacle bosses has a new unique added to their drop pools. We have identified another major problem with the endgame
helm
we'd
looks
like
strong.
to address. With every expansion added to the game, we have been increasing the complexity of running maps. It's at the point now where a player must repeatedly execute a large sequence of steps to run maps efficiently. It can be easy to forget critical steps, and it can be tiring to repeat them. To solve this, we are removing some systems, but are keeping what is good about them. The 2 main systems we've removed are Sextants and the Master Mission Selector. It is not our intention to dull the content, however. We have completely reworked scarabs to include most of the options that were previously covered by those mechanics, and many, many more. Let's take a look at some of them.
That might be a big
Commonly,
nerf.
you might find scarabs that simply grant access to different content. Here, we have a scarab that causes beyond demons to spawn when killing monsters in your maps. And here, we have one that adds a
Like
delirium
going from
mirror.
4 scarabs and 4
Each
sections
type
down
of
to
scarab
4
now has
scarabs.
multiple versions, so if you want to fully invest in a type of content, you can do so. Here's a suite of ultimatum scarabs. This ultimatum scarab adds an ultimatum encounter to a map. This ultimatum scarab of bribing then causes that ultimatum encounter to grant better rewards and its monsters to yield more experience. This ultimatum scarab of dueling will cause that ultimatum encounter to always guarantee the Trial Master boss fight at the end, assuming you can survive through all the rounds. This ultimatum scarab of
This
catalyzing
changes
will cause
Endgame
all rewards from that
so
ultimatum to
much.
be catalysts, instead of other rewards. And finally, this ultimatum scarab of inscription will cause all catalyst rewards from that ultimatum to be inscribed ultimatums instead. There are plenty of others. If you enjoy divination card farming, you might want to use these. This divination scarab of curation causes more divination cards to drop for each different favored map you have selected. But it also causes whatever map you're running to only drop divination cards from those favored maps. So if you want to try and aim for your mage blood and don't want to just farm Crimson Temple, then this scarab is for you. This divination scarab of completion causes your divination cards to have a 20% chance to drop as a full stack instead, for maximum dopamine. Basically, there are now just a lot of scarabs.
Yeah.
You might have also noticed that they no longer have tiers. Scarabs are now all world drops. You can get them anywhere. Some might be rarer than others, but the intention is that there'll be a lot more options than before, and more interesting combinations to consider. If you want to target specific scarabs, Betrayal has been updated to include most of them, and you will need to relearn which ones come from where. While this system is allowing you to heavily invest in one type of content, it is reducing your capacity for variety.
Yeah,
To
that
address
was what I
this,
was
we have
thinking.
massively increased access to content on the Atlas passive tree. You are now
Ooh,
able to reliably get different leagues like Breach or Legion from just your Atlas passives.
that's big.
Regarding master missions, content such as Incursion, Delve, Betrayal, and Bestiary, these too are now accessible with Scarabs, and have more
Oh
reliable
boy, this
investment
changes
options on the
Endgame
tree.
so much. I'm so
Not only
excited for this.
You can now get Jun, Einhar, Alva, and Nico to appear together in the same map. We have also removed some keystones such as Wandering Path, Grand Design, and Growing Hordes.
What?
But have added some new ones too. For example, Unwavering Vision, Back to Basics, and Thorough Exploration. And we have added some new notables such as Remarkable Relics, which allows you to try find better variants of Scarabs. Mounting Modifiers, which increases
Hey,
the
this
values
just
of
sounds like
modifiers
an
on your
absolute
maps
buff
by
to Legion
2% for
farming.
each explicit modifier. And Tainted Carapaces, which is just one in a set of many that allow you to target farm specific types of Scarabs. These are just a few of the many new notables that can be found on the Atlas passive skill tree. Lastly, we are giving you more flexibility in what content you want to run in the endgame. In 3.24, you can now have multiple copies of the Atlas tree.
Oh yeah,
which
that's
can
gonna be
swapped
so
between
big.
maps at your leisure.
This
You
is
can
gonna be
unlock up
so
to
big.
2 extra trees for a total of 3 by progressing through the endgame and completing core content. When you open a map, you can select which tree you would like to use. For a given league, you'll never feel constrained to playing your endgame a single way. You can also label your trees to easily identify which one has which content. With all this combined, we're hoping to see new endgame strategies shine through.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be brewing this league.
While playing through the campaign in 3.24, you'll notice a myriad of small improvements and surprises. The fundamentals of the campaign are still intact, but we've scattered fun encounters and secrets throughout Rayclast. The Dweller of the Deep has been trapped. What are these ritual shrines doing in the northern forest? And why are they giving me omens? This device looks safe. I should definitely use this on my items.
What?
There are plenty more encounters to discover. We'll continue adding more surprises in future releases, so keep an eye out. In the previous expansion, 323,
Guess campaign is gonna
we
be
released
shuffled.
a large number of transfigured skill gems. These are alternate versions of existing
Cyclone!
skill gems that function in very different ways, allowing for more build and gameplay variety. At the time, our aspirations were higher than we could achieve. We planned more gems than we could make. So, in 324, we're adding another set of transfigured gems that we have now finished. Ice Shot, Incinerate, Artillery Ballista, Tornado, Elemental Hit, Kinetic Blast, Poisonous Concoction, and lastly, Summon Holy Relic.
Sounds like a few cool
Hopefully
ones.
those of you who missed your favorite skill having a transfigured variant will get that here. We will certainly be adding more of these in the future, especially for skills that are missing them still. Of course, we'll also be doing a balance pass on the existing transfigured gems. One of the main ones we're looking at is Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation. As a result of this change, it is clear that the endgame potential of the Wander archetype really starts to suffer, mostly in the single target damage department. Due to this, we've added the new support gem, Sacred Wisps. This support gem causes supported skills to create 2 attached wisps for a duration. With these wisps, whenever you attack, they have a chance to also use the same skill, if you have enemies in your presence. And if there are any rare or unique enemies, they will always use the skill.
That sounds
That leads us
very
into all the other
powerful.
quality of life features we're introducing in 324, and there's a shitload of them. Many of these have been revealed in teasers already, but here's a quick summary.
We've added the automation and call to arms skill gems, for being able to trigger instant skills and war cries without having to bind them to left click. You can now hold down Control and left click to automatically apply certain currency orbs until they achieve the desired result, or you run out. For example, you can hold down fusings until you reach maximum links. You will be able to control, shift, click currency into a trade window to automatically move all of that currency at once from your inventory. Detonate Dead now has clearer telegraphing effects. When harvest crafting, the item hover will always be visible, so you no longer have to mouse back and forth to see the results of your crafts. When you use a Val Orb on a map, the map no longer has a chance to become unidentified. Instead, it adds a new implicit. We've created a set of implicits that affect the areas in fun ways. Related to that, corrupted and mirrored items can now be identified. Breach hands now open upon approach, and no longer need to be clicked. Upgrades to Pantheon powers now apply to all characters in a league. You no longer need to grind Divine Vessels on each new character. With Harvest Crafting, you can now re-roll Uber Elder fragments. Fragments dropped by the Shaper cannot be re-rolled into fragments dropped by the Elder, and vice versa. Regarding Betrayal, we're removing Ashling's crafting bench as a reward. Instead, Veiled Orbs now perform that function. They remove a mod and replace it with a Veiled mod. These orbs now drop from Katarina and are no longer a world drop. Flasks can now be corrupted by Val Orbs, giving random -10 to +10 quality. The capability to add extra quality to weapons, armors, and flasks has been removed from Betrayal. The Betrayal bench craft that converts an amulet to a talisman has been moved to Bestiary, and thus can be traded. Maven invitations no longer drop. Instead, when you have completed witnessing all bosses required to go to the Maven's arena, you can just talk to
Man, I'm
Garak,
so excited
and you'll
about next
open a map
league
device
now.
window with the
It's gotta
invitation
be an
already in
amazing
there,
one.
ready to be rolled. Valdo's maps that granted invitations now give scarabs. No more having to waste Guardian kills to try get invitations to drop. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new League
Alright.
supporter packs.
How much money is
Today,
gonna go out of
we're
my
launching
pockets?
2 new series of supporter packs, the Solar and Eldritch packs. Each tier contains the full pack's face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Necropolis League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic, and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Solar series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Cosmos Weapon effect adorns your weapon with stars. Hitting enemies causes cosmic energy to spill out into the area around them. The Radiant Orb of Chance extra effect projects the outcome of items you've used an Orb of Chance on above your head. Remember to congratulate other exiles in town if you see them chance a powerful unique item.
It's fancy.
Shine boldly with the Solar Knight armor set. The power of the sun radiates from your body, getting more and more intense as you use skills and emitting solar flares as you run. With the Supernova level up extra effect, the dead will be raised from the ground around you, before being obliterated and turned to ash by an epic supernova whenever you level up. This one is my personal favorite.
What
the Cosmic Turtle Hideout lets you travel the infinite expanse
Yo!
of the cosmos atop the back of a colossal turtle. Carry the weight of the sun on your back with the Solar Guardian.
What is that hideout?
Witness it grow larger and larger as the energy of slain enemies is funneled into it. When it reaches its maximum size, it goes supernova and turns into a black hole, forever drifting throughout Rayclast. The Eldritch Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. Are you wondering if we moved the stash in the latest patch? Don't be fooled, because with the Mimic Stash Pet, players can transform into an image of a stash when in a town or hideout, and scare unsuspecting exiles. This pet follows behind you with its terrifying hand-walking the rest of the time. The Shaper's Slam finisher effect sends slain unique enemies into a
Final abyss of unending darkness.
The Eldritch Hunger armor set contains a beast that demands you to feed it by embracing your bloodlust. Watch it grow in power the more you kill until it bursts from the shell of the helmet. Are you able to satiate its hunger? The seed within the Corrupted Growth map device expands its grasp on your hideout, the more maps you complete on your atlas. Equipping the Headhunter character effect causes skulls of slain rare enemies to whirl around you like trophies. They become enraged when you are near a rare enemy you are yet to kill, wishing for them to join your collection. Witness a reality where the struggle didn't exist, allowing the Eldritch Horrors to settle their own conflicts with the Eldritch Horror Apparition effect. Which of the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch do you think will win? These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile.
Man, that turtle hideout looks sick.
Meanwhile, the Shade and Disciple packs leave the store forever at the launch of Necropolis League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post Path of Exile Necropolis's...
Yeah. Not gonna be recording the Q&A. Likely those that are interested will watch it live or will watch it after. But I want to take a quick look on the Necropolis page and just want to say the next league looks huge. We are going back. We're going away from doing 2 to 3 strategies in the same map and going back again to hyper-focusing on a strategy. So things like Legion farming, Breach farming, Expedition farming won't be in cooperation with each other, but hyper-focused again, with maybe one strategy a little bit sprinkled on the side. So I'm very excited coming up with the new ways how to farm those strategies. It's going to be definitely interesting going down from the Sextants and the Scarabs to just Scarabs. But depending on what they offer, this might be very, very big or might be meh. But we will have to see about that. Let's take a quick look at this. I'm very excited about this. It looks like it's a mapping league, but more focused on efficient, fast maps, more than enhancing a map to the limit. You take a quick look here, you adjust it to be in a decent pace. Of course, quantity would be nice, but those modifiers seem to be random. So I don't know. I don't think we can expect things to appear there. And it's more like run the maps in a decent pace. The crafting is definitely going to be interesting. I'm very excited with what people will come up with, what can be crafted this league. And it looks like you can guarantee the item you're going to get. It's just going to be a question of what is going to be on it, which is going to be still random, but can be forced in specific directions. Uber changes. Oh man, I'm excited about that. Uber and bossing is going to feel very good next league, I think. The prices are going to be changing. I don't know how much worse it's going to be, but I think it's going to feel a lot better than previous iterations. Also, interesting. Flask increased effectiveness, gaining charges. that Rage Helm is big. It is so easy to spend a lot of mana. It is so easy to spend a lot of mana. So Rage and... I mean, we don't have Spell Berserk anymore, but Spell Rage is gonna be really awesome. Also, I don't know what to think about the Embers yet. Those have potential, especially that we have tattoos back. If we have the +1 projectile tattoo, I'm gonna celebrate, but I don't think that came back. T17 maps. I'm really gonna be interested how rare those are. I think they tested the limits last league with those, with the Valdo maps, and they seen people are gonna do them. So be prepared to have very quick bossing builds to run those T17 maps. And boy, different trees, this is so big! Now I can always have a leisure tree in the back end to go back to whenever I need to take a break from a different strat. Man, I need a passive tree. I want to make so many different strats. So let's take a look here. Delirium, Ultimatum, Ultimatum upgrade. So those are used now in combination with each other. So we can use, if we have the Legion map device, unlock the so we have a 5-way device, we can use a map and up to 4 scarabs still. So we could combine guaranteed Ultimatum encounter with always a lead to unique boss, which means always having a trial master, but also offer only catalyst, and that in combination could be used with this, that catalysts are always inscribed ultimatums. So these 3 would always give inscribed ultimatums in every round. That could be very big. Also magic finding. Boy, I'm interested what magic finding is gonna be doing. Okay, new gems. It looks like Tornado becomes a non-support skill. Ice Shot pierces. And the pierce seems to explode. Oh, interesting. So the Ice Shot goes this way, and the explosions happen sideways. It looked like that happened all around. Someone's will listen. I don't think that's good. Like, we want it to overlap. And of course, automation call to arms. I don't know if they reserve or not. I thought I saw it reserve mana, but I didn't realize it early enough to check. But yeah, very, very interesting. I'm very looking forward to the next league. Video's long enough. Hopefully I'll be seeing you either when I'm live on stream, when I'm gonna be more testing, more league stuff practicing, or more brewing, or I'm gonna be seeing you in my next video. Goodbye!